What happens when a US Congresswoman praises an African leader for his courage, dignity, and unwavering commitment to his people? The answer will shock you. Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, is left speechless as his leadership is acknowledged by none other than Jasmine Crockett. But this isn't just a story of politics, it's a powerful moment of global unity that's changing the way we view leadership. Stay tuned, because the ending will leave you inspired and questioning everything you thought you knew about true leadership. Dear friends, what you're about to hear is more than just a story. It's a glimpse into a world where quiet courage reshapes destinies and dignity outshines power. These are the voices often missed by the headlines, but not here. If this kind of storytelling moves you, if it stays with you long after the screen fades, we invite you to subscribe and ring the bell. And before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. We read every word. Now let's begin. It was just another quiet morning in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. The streets were filled with the usual hustle of a city that had grown accustomed to the ebb and flow of daily life. Yet, behind the closed doors of a simple office, Ibrahim Traoré sat, going over the countless documents that filled his desk. It seemed like any other day for the president of Burkina Faso, until an unexpected video conference invitation changed everything. As Traoré clicked to accept the call, the image of a woman appeared on the screen, Jasmine Crockett, a US Congresswoman known for her powerful stance on human rights and her progressive values. The political realm rarely found people like her, unafraid to challenge the system, to stand against oppression, even when it meant facing the wrath of the very establishment she fought to reform. And here she was, ready to address a man she had never met, yet whose actions had already earned her admiration from thousands of miles away. Their conversation, initially set to be about African sovereignty and global cooperation, was about to transcend politics. It would become something far deeper, more profound, an emotional reckoning that would leave both leaders speechless. What began as a routine diplomatic exchange quickly turned into a moment that neither would forget. It was clear that Traoré wasn't expecting the words that were about to come from the other side of the world. "Mr. President," Jasmine began, her voice firm, yet layered with sincerity, "today I want to talk about something that goes beyond politics, something much bigger, dignity." Traoré, who had been preparing for another round of discussions on international development, paused, his fingers frozen on the keyboard. There was a shift in her tone, something different, something rare. The weight of her words seemed to hang in the air, calling for more than just a diplomatic exchange. "Your leadership," she continued, "has inspired me and countless others, not for the typical reasons we celebrate politicians, but because you put your people first. You have refused to let foreign powers enslave your nation with debt, and instead, you've chosen to invest in your people's health and education." It was a moment that not only caught Traoré off guard, but one that would plant a seed of reflection deep within him. For the first time, someone from outside his borders was speaking to him, not as a politician, but as a human, recognizing the value of his leadership in a way few had. As her words settled into the quiet of his office, Traoré realized that this meeting, this conversation, was about to redefine not only his role as a leader, but his understanding of what leadership truly meant. As Jasmine Crockett prepared for the video conference, she adjusted her microphone, taking a deep breath. Her usual confidence was there, but today something else lingered in the air. She had studied Ibrahim Traoré's leadership for months, watching how he had turned Burkina Faso's destiny around despite overwhelming odds. But her admiration for him wasn't just about politics. It was something deeper, something more profound. She had seen what many in the West overlooked, a leader who refused to be swayed by outside pressures and remained steadfast in his commitment to his people. This was the man she had come to respect, and today she was about to share that respect with him. "Mr. President," Jasmine began, her voice steady but carrying an undeniable emotion, "I don't just want to talk to you about political strategy today. I want to talk about something that transcends policy, something far more important, dignity." Her words were carefully chosen, but as she spoke, they resonated with the weight of truth. She had seen the sacrifices that leaders like Traoré made, sacrifices that weren't always visible in the headlines. He wasn't just shaping policies, he was redefining what it meant to lead with purpose and compassion. Jasmine continued, "I've studied the history of Burkina Faso, and I am deeply inspired by your leadership. You've shown us that true leaders don't sell out to the international financial system. Instead, they choose to invest in their people, their health, their education, their future." Her words carried the power of someone who truly understood the struggles of the people she spoke about. As she shared her own background, having grown up in a marginalized community, Jasmine's vulnerability added another layer to her speech. "I know what it feels like to be overlooked, to have your dignity stripped away by systems that claim to help but only serve to oppress. But when someone like you rises up, putting people first, it changes everything. It gives us hope." By now, the room in Ouagadougou had fallen completely silent. Even through a screen, her sincerity and unwavering belief in the importance of dignity were palpable. For the first time, Traoré felt a connection not through political figures, but through a shared commitment to service, to lifting people up, and to a future where dignity was no longer a privilege, but a right. Jasmine's message wasn't just for Traoré, it was a call to the world, reminding everyone that leadership is not about power, but about the responsibility to those you lead. She spoke of hope, of humanity, and of a future where true leaders like Traoré could stand as examples of what it meant to put others first. As she finished, the virtual room lingered in a silence that spoke volumes, leaving Traoré deeply moved and speechless for the first time in a long while. As Jasmine Crockett'S words lingered in the air, an unexpected silence fell over the virtual conference room. Ibrahim Traoré, who had been poised, engaged in the discussions, was now overcome with a deep sense of emotion. He had never expected such praise, especially from someone as influential as a US Congresswoman. The weight of her words hit him harder than any political statement or diplomatic achievement ever could. In that moment, the power of her voice, the clarity with which she spoke about dignity, justice, and leadership, spoke to something deeper within him. For the first time in a long while, he felt recognized not for his political power, but for the choices he had made to serve his people. Jasmine's words went beyond the surface of political action. They tapped into the core of what he believed true leadership to be. She had seen through the noise of international media and highlighted the very essence of his mission: to lift up the people of Burkina Faso, to reject the chains of foreign debt and dependency, and to invest in their future. As her words echoed in his mind, Traoré couldn't help but reflect on the struggles his country had faced, the harsh criticisms, the moments of doubt, and the pressure to conform to the expectations of global powers. But here, in the quiet of his office, in the simplicity of the connection they shared through a screen, he realized that the path he had chosen was the right one. He wasn't alone. For the first time, someone had acknowledged the struggles, the sacrifices, and the vision that had driven him forward. Jasmine's speech was more than just recognition. It was a validation of his mission, of everything he had worked for in Burkina Faso. Her words reminded him that leadership wasn't about popularity, approval, or even power. It was about service, about making decisions that prioritize the dignity and well-being of your people. It was about refusing to be swept up in the current of external pressure and instead taking the lead by building something sustainable and meaningful from within. As the room remained still, Traoré realized how much he had needed to hear this. He had known his actions were for the right cause, but Jasmine had spoken with such clarity and conviction that she had reignited a fire inside him. The burden of leadership had never seemed lighter, and for the first time in his presidency, Traoré understood that the journey was far from over. There was still work to be done, but now he felt ready to carry it forward with even more strength. In the days following Jasmine Crockett'S powerful speech, a ripple effect began to unfold across the globe. What started as a heartfelt exchange between two leaders from different continents quickly ignited a larger conversation, one that transcended politics and borders. Jasmine's words, which had deeply impacted Ibrahim Traoré, also reverberated beyond the walls of Burkina Faso's government offices, sparking discussions on leadership, dignity, and the power of putting people first. As the message spread, it became clear that this conversation was more than just a moment between two individuals. It was a reflection of the growing global desire for a new kind of leadership, one that doesn't simply serve the interests of the powerful, but seeks to elevate the marginalized, to restore dignity to those who have long been ignored. The leadership that Traoré embodied, humble, people-centered, and resolute in the face of external pressures, was gaining international recognition, and it was shifting the narrative on what it truly meant to lead with integrity. In the United States, Jasmine Crockett's speech was picked up by media outlets, shared across social platforms, and debated in government circles. Her words were not just about Burkina Faso or Traoré, they were a call for a global reassessment of priorities. Activists, community leaders, and ordinary citizens found themselves inspired by the idea that a country could take control of its future without falling prey to international powers that often sought to dictate its destiny. The speech catalyzed a new vision of collaboration, one built on mutual respect rather than one-sided agreements. It was a vision of global unity rooted in shared humanity and respect for each nation's sovereignty. Across Africa, Traoré's leadership was no longer seen in isolation. His actions were now recognized as part of a larger movement towards self-determination and dignity for African nations. Countries previously caught in cycles of dependency and exploitation began looking at Burkina Faso's example as a beacon of hope. The ripple effect extended from government leaders to ordinary citizens, sparking conversations about what it truly meant to be free, to stand on your own terms, and to defend your people from forces that sought to undermine them. In this moment, the world saw the power of unity, not in the form of treaties and agreements made behind closed doors, but in the open, honest recognition of one another's struggles and triumphs. Jasmine's speech had shown that true global unity wasn't about political deals, it was about a collective understanding that dignity, respect, and shared humanity should be the foundation of every conversation, every decision, and every relationship. And as the conversation grew louder, it became clear that the world was ready for a new era of leadership, one where every voice was heard and every person's dignity was upheld. The conversation between Ibrahim Traoré and Jasmine Crockett had sparked something that no one could have predicted, a lasting ripple effect that was slowly but steadily transforming the way people thought about leadership, sovereignty, and global cooperation. What began as an intimate exchange between two individuals one from Burkina Faso and the other from the United States, quickly transcended borders, echoing across continents. It was not just a momentary connection, it was the beginning of a movement that would change the course of history. In the weeks that followed, the world began to see a shift in the narrative surrounding African leadership. The conversation between Jasmine and Traoré had opened eyes, not only in Burkina Faso, but across the globe. Leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens alike began to look at leadership differently, no longer as the mere accumulation of power or the pursuit of personal gain, but as an opportunity to serve, to elevate others, and to place dignity at the center of governance. As the story of their exchange spread, many began to understand that leadership was not about power dynamics or global influence. It was about the people. It was about putting the well-being of the citizens first, focusing on sustainable development, education, and healthcare, even when external pressures tried to steer a country in another direction. This was the essence of Traoré's leadership, and Jasmine Crockett'S words had given it a global platform. In Burkina Faso, the effects were immediate. Traoré's policies, which had once been criticized by some as too idealistic or too resistant to outside influence, were now being viewed as a model for the future. People who had once struggled under foreign debt and dependency began to see that there was another way. Burkina Faso's pursuit of self-sufficiency and dignity had become a shining example, not just for Africa, but for the entire world. It showed that when leaders are genuinely committed to the welfare of their people, they can inspire change far beyond their own borders. As the conversation around their meeting continued, the world's perspective on African leadership began to shift. No longer were African nations viewed as needing saving or being caught in perpetual cycles of dependency. Instead, the world began to see them as strong, self-sufficient, and deserving of respect. Jasmine Crockett's speech had not just honored Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, it had laid the foundation for a new era of leadership, one built on the principles of dignity, service, and collaboration. And as the legacy of this powerful conversation continued to unfold, it became clear that true leadership at its core is about making a difference in the lives of others, showing them that their dignity matters, that their future matters. This conversation had sparked a global awakening, and the world would never be the same. In the powerful exchange between Ibrahim Traoré and Jasmine Crockett, we witnessed a profound moment of global unity, where two leaders from different continents connected over the shared values of dignity, leadership, and service. Traoré, a leader who has consistently prioritized the well-being of his people, found validation in Crockett's words, which acknowledged not just his political decisions, but the deep humanity that guided them. This conversation sparked a movement, inspiring people around the world to reconsider the true essence of leadership. Traoré's example, which defied international pressure and focused on sustainable growth for his people, became a beacon of hope for countries yearning for self-determination and dignity. The lesson we take from this story is that true leadership is not defined by power or status, but by the service we provide to those who rely on us. It's about making tough decisions for the benefit of others, even when it's not the most popular path. Leadership is about creating a legacy that transcends borders, that inspires others to act with integrity, compassion, and respect. Whether in politics, business, or our daily lives, the ability to lead with purpose and compassion can bring about meaningful change in the world. As we reflect on Traoré's journey, let it remind us all that the most powerful form of leadership is grounded in empathy and a commitment to justice. So, if you believe in the power of genuine leadership and want to see more inspiring stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us motivated to bring more stories of transformation, courage, and hope to light.